Thank you for participating in the Civic Engagement Scholars Program. This presentation provides an overview of the program's different requirements. All scholars are sent a link to the Scholars Checklist, which is the way you'll be keeping track of the different program components throughout the year. It's important that you bookmark this link and update your checklist frequently so that you know the progress that you're making with the program. Now we'll go into the different scholars program components which are outlined on this checklist. All scholars are required to attend 2 trainings which are organized by CCEL. The first is the Scholars Orientation, which takes place in the fall, and if you're watching this video, you most likely have completed this orientation or you're doing a makeup option. The second required training is in the spring semester, and it is the Social Justice Teach-In. This year, the teach-in is Saturday, February 4th from 11 to 3:30 p.m., so just be sure to save the date. These trainings are coordinated directly by CCEL, and we manage the attendance. So typically you'll sign in at the training, and then when you go back to your checklist, you'll notice that we'll check off that box with a green check mark, and so you don't need to do anything with that. Community-focused programs are another requirement of the program. These are educational programs that help further develop you as an active citizen in one of 4 areas. They can be programs organized by department, student groups, or they can also be off-campus programs that you attend. Programs don't need to be pre-approved by CCEL, but they do have to fall into one of these categories. The first category is a program that educates you about a community issue. For instance, this could be a speaker who comes to campus to talk about health disparities, or someone who comes and talks about public education, poverty, any type of community issue. The second type of program is one that helps you explore topics related to diversity or social justice. This could be a workshop that's hosted by the Social Justice Institute or a Safe Zone training you attend. Leadership development is another category, and this is any type of program that helps you develop yourself as a leader. And so an example would be, for instance, attending a Strengths Quest session or going to the Student Leadership Conference and attending one of their breakouts. And finally, the last category relates to being about Cleveland and getting you out into the Cleveland community. So this could be something that you do just personally, like a visit to a cultural institution, such as the Cleveland Museum of Art, and is just a way to encourage you to break out of the bubble and explore the different assets of our community. We do put together a menu of different options of things that could count as community-focused programs, but ultimately you get to choose what type of program you want to attend and in what area you want to develop. It's also important to note you could do all 3 programs in one category. For instance, all 3 of your programs could be in the leadership development category, or you could switch it up. Just depends on you. Once you attend a community-focused program, you'll submit a brief reflection about what you learned through the program on your scholars checklist. The way you do that is you'll click on this small arrow, which will take you to a form that allows you to submit, again, a brief reflection about what you learned. And once you go ahead and submit that, you'll see a green check mark appear in that box. Of course, the community service hours are one of the biggest and most challenging requirements of the program. To complete the Scholars Program, you need to serve at least 50 hours during the academic year with at least 25 hours at one primary site. Your primary site is a nonprofit or school located in the greater Cleveland area. You could do all 50 hours at your primary site if you want, but we ask that you do at least 25 hours at a Cleveland organization because we find that service is more beneficial for both the organization and for you when there's a longer-term relationship that can develop. I also want to go over some guidelines of what types of activities can count as scholar service hours and what can't. So in terms of what counts, in general, any direct service hours where you're dedicating your time to benefit a nonprofit or school can count. As I mentioned, at least 25 of those hours have to be with one organization in Cleveland, but the other 25 could be done anywhere, whether that be at home during winter break with a nonprofit you volunteered for in high school, or abroad if you do an alternative break, or any combination. We also allow you to count transportation time to your service site if you're taking a bus or vehicle. We want you to be reasonable in what you count as travel time, but we do want to encourage you to break out of the bubble and get to know parts of Cleveland outside of University Circle, which is why we allow you to count travel time in general. We also allow you to count time spent in orientations or trainings that are required by an organization to volunteer there. Finally, if you're getting work study or credit as part of your volunteer service at a nonprofit or school, you can count that paid time or credit time up to 25 hours. So for instance, if you're a nursing student doing a clinical at university hospitals, you can count up to 25 hours of that time as scholars hours, even though it's part of your academic curriculum. So what doesn't count as hours? Time spent shadowing a professional or volunteering at a for-profit business doesn't count. Also, if you're participating in a philanthropy event like walking at Relay for Life, running a 5K, or donating a can to a food drive, you're not going to count that. If you're actually volunteering at one of these types of events, though, like you're doing setup or cleanup or operating a water station, that would be direct service and that could count as towards your scholars hours. And finally, time you spend at a general body meeting or business meetings for student organizations you're involved with, even if you're in a leadership role with that organization, would not count. Many of these student organizations provide great direct service opportunities that would count. So for instance, the LABRA Project, Kids Against Hunger, Cleveland Public Schools Connection, they all have direct service opportunities. So if you're volunteering at any of those types of events that are benefiting a nonprofit or school, you can definitely count that time. As far as keeping track of your hours, we'll go ahead and go back to your checklist. And you'll notice that the first arrow here is about asking for your primary site selection. I encourage you to have your primary site identified as soon as possible because that will allow you to set up a regular volunteer schedule with your site and it can just be part of your routine, which is ultimately the goal. If you need help finding a primary site or suggestions of what might fit your interest, please stop by CCEL or shoot us an email and we can definitely give you some recommendations. Once you identify a site, you'll go ahead and click on that arrow and it'll ask you to submit some basic information about the organization, including the name and contact of the person who'll be supervising you, and that should be someone who can verify your service hours at the site. To log your hours, you can click on either one of these arrows. It doesn't matter which one, it'll take you to the same place. And you will go, clicking on those arrows will take you to this timesheet. And this is how you can enter your hours. You just click on this little plus sign to create a new entry, and you'll fill out the information it requests, including the date, the name of the organization you volunteered at, how many hours you volunteered. If this organization was your primary site, you can click that box. If it was not, just leave it blank. If you're getting paid or credit for any of those hours that you were volunteering, make sure to check that box. And then finally, you just click on this check mark to enter your hours. Make sure again that you update this regularly as this will make it easier for you to keep track of your progress. The last requirement of the program is the final reflection. So once you're nearing the completion of all of the program requirements in the spring semester, you can just go to your checklist, click on this little arrow, and it'll take you to a few short answer questions that are meant to help you reflect on your overall experience with the program and what you learned. All of the Civic Engagement Scholars Program components are meant to reflect best practices of community engagement while also helping you grow as an active citizen and engaged community member. I hope you have a meaningful experience with this program, and if you have any questions about any of the requirements, please feel free to reach out to us at the CCEL office. We're located in the TINC, or you can always email us at comservice@case.edu. Thank you.